everybody. My name is Brian Corey, and I'm very excited to be presenting here at the Anomicon, spearheaded by the great Ryan Sprague, featuring all these magnificent speakers as part of this big event, September 1st and 2nd here. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting all these great presenters, and thank you for supporting Ryan in his endeavor to bring all this kind of weird communication, these weird ideas and thoughts to you in a fun, non-confrontational way. Conversational, not confrontational. So a little bit about myself. My name is Brian Corey. You might know me from a podcast called Necronomicast. Started in 2011 as a horror movie aficionado podcast, started by Wayne Brecky and Tim Welch here in Omaha. In 2014, I was asked to be a guest because I know a lot about Friday the 13th. Then I became a co-host and then a producer. And then in 2020, I took over the show and changed the focus of the show from being horror movies in a group conversational setting to more one-on-one interactions and interviews with experts in the field, authors, paranormal researchers, people into cryptozoology, also true crime. I've had a lot of reporters and researchers and clinical psychiatrists, psychologists on the show, forensic psychologists, talking all aspects of things that are strange and weird that are usually inspirational to horror movies in a darkened theater. So I'm having a lot of fun hosting the show and having these great discussions with people of diverse backgrounds and educational expertise and also experience. So it's been a lot of fun. So thank you for allowing me to talk to you today about my presentation entitled "The Song Remains the Same." And it's kind of a fun little wink, little tip of the cap to our friends in Led Zeppelin who came up with "The Song Remains the Same." Also, that little tune that I played beforehand is called Body and Soul. And I thought that was a kind of a cutesy way to start the show, talking about the interconnectedness of human consciousness and our physical reality and what might persist after our bodily death, or maybe even dipping our toe into telepathy and psychic experiences. So that's where we're going to go with this. So buckle up. And I hope you, I hope this opens some doors of thought for you. And if it does, and you want to talk further about this, feel free to email me at necronomicast@gmail.com. You can find me on my website, necronomicast.com. So I'd like to tell you just a little bit about myself outside of the show. I'm a musician in the Omaha area. And I studied music at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, where I was in the Cornhusker Marching Band. I was in the wind ensemble, the jazz ensemble, small ensembles, solo work. I toured the country in my 20s with a ska band. Played in New York, Chicago, St. Louis, Kansas City, all around the Midwest coasts. Some of those stories are best left for another time, but I'd love to tell you about them sometime because they were a lot of fun years playing in an ensemble like that. So I've had the opportunity to play for the Olympics, the summer and winter trials, Olympic team trials, national anthem, and also for Major League Baseball games. But I've also had the opportunity to play for very small, intimate engagements like graveside services. So I've played in front of tens of thousands of people, and I've also played for like 3 or 4 people. And in all of those situations, I felt like there have been opportunities to connect to people spiritually, telepathically, psychically, in ways that you can't with the verbal word through the avenue of music. So I'd like to start off with a little bit of a story. I was asked to play for a church service about a year ago, and I'd had nothing on my calendar, so I said, that's great. So I packed up my trumpet, went to the church, was handed a list of tunes that we're going to be playing. I looked over them, and lo and behold, there was a tune on there written by a friend of mine, a liturgical composer of some note. And this is his most famous tune. It's in hymnals all across the country. He has since retired and relocated to South Carolina. So South Carolina, Omaha. We're going to play his tune. That sounds great. So the song was programmed for the communion part of the service, which is about 2/3 of the way through. Service started at 5:30. So at about 6:11, we started playing his song. Now, I know it was 6:11 because I went back and watched the live stream, and we started pretty much right on time. And by the time we were in the middle of that song, it was about 6:11. And as we were playing that song, I'm thinking about my friend Marty, who wrote the song, and all the fun that we had, musically and just conversationally, and just a really good guy. So I'm thinking about Marty. My wife's sitting in the congregation, and she's like, "Oh man, Marty, we haven't seen Marty in a number of years. I wonder how he's doing." So she's thinking about Marty. Hundreds of people in the congregation are singing the song, thinking about the lyrics or the melodic structure, the harmonic structure of the song as they sing it. They are connected to Marty in some way, right? So after the service was over, I pick up my cell phone, check my email, and lo and behold, friends, as I live and breathe, Marty emailed me at 6:11 p.m. that night while we were playing his song. And the email was, "Hey, Brian, I'm going to be in town in a couple of weeks. Do you want to go to lunch?" So I thought that was crazy, right? Hadn't thought about Marty in a while, haven't talked to him in a while, haven't seen him in years. 6:11 p.m., while we're playing his most famous piece of music, he's thinking of me enough to pick up his mobile device and to email me to ask me if I want to go to lunch when he's in town. Through wires of infinity, from Omaha, Nebraska to South Carolina, at the very same time that I'm thinking about him, my wife's thinking about him, the congregation is singing his song, he picks up his phone, thinks of me, and texts me. Coincidence? I don't think so. I don't really believe in coincidence. I think that something, you want to call it psychically, you want to call it telepathically, somehow through the avenue of music, through the performance of music, it opened up something in my mind, other people's minds. It opened up an avenue for communication. So I don't know at what point he would have contacted me to see if I would have gone to lunch if it wasn't at that moment. But it was at that moment that I was playing his song. And I've talked this over with Lloyd Auerbach, who you'll hear from in a second here. I also talked it over with psychic medium Cindy Keza. And I'm like, "Cindy, does that sound psychic to you?" And she's like, "Yeah, absolutely, that's psychical." Now, I don't pretend that I'm a psychic like she is psychic or other people are psychic mediums. But at that moment, I had like a psychical experience, a telepathical experience, an experience that wasn't natural, an experience that wasn't normal. So it was paranormal, outside the normal. So that's how I'm going to start this little talk, with that personal experience, and there'll be others that I'll talk about as we chat here together. What you can expect later on is you're going to see how to incorporate music into a paranormal investigation on your own. We'll talk about some concepts of that. And then also at the very end, if you make it to the end, also at the very end, I challenge you to listen to a piece of music with me, to listen to a piece of music with everybody else that's watching this far and wide over the magical power of the internet, to listen to a piece of music and see as an experiment if we can connect all together in some way, or if we have shared experiences while listening to the music. So right now I'm going to cut to a little bit of a conversation that I had with Lloyd Auerbach, famous parapsychologist. And then John Tenney, had a conversation with him about music and the interaction between human beings, the connectedness. And then also rock musician, platinum rock musician, Chad Sexton from the rock band 311. We talk a little bit about the connectedness between musicians, not only in the creative process, maybe on stage, but also the connectedness of musicians to audience, maybe audience members amongst themselves. So here's a little bit of my conversations from my show Necronomicast.
Between
Well,
D and Marty? Like, were we thinking of each other at the same time, not because of coincidence, but because of maybe some kind of creative flow? I was playing his song and thinking of him, and then he thought of me.
well, here's the thing. First, if you hadn't been doing that, you might have gotten an email at a different time because he was coming into town, right?
Correct.
It's the timing of the situation we're talking about here that's the amazing thing.
Yes, the exact same time.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is not a new thing. I mean, people will often say, it's commonly reported, people say, well, I was just thinking of somebody and suddenly I get a phone call from them or I get an email or a text from them. And I hadn't thought of them in months. And so the question then becomes, in this instance, I would say because you were told to play the song, I take it, right? It's part of the program that you were given.
Yeah, like here's the song list.
Right.
I got.
So that, if you had just decided to play the song, then the question would have been, did he think of you and cause you to play it? Or did you think of him to cause him to email? But because you were programmed, the odds are that he picked up on you, focused on him.
Yeah, sure.
And that triggered him to send the email sooner than he might have otherwise.
From across the country, so we're not bound necessarily
there's no distance, no space and time. I mean, there might be if we get out to the outer planets or something like that, but there, when it comes right down to it, psychic information or information in general, we're not very far away from people. We're not even a light second away from people when it comes right down to it.
And it's a disaster of an album. It is not, it doesn't, I mean, they are all over the fucking place.
Right. So, like, let's tie this into a little bit of spirituality or paranormal kind of stuff, because a lot of times what I was saying, like what they're getting to is so badass. There's like a psychic connection. You know what the bass player's getting ready to do. You know what the drummer's going to do. You listen to his foot, and then without even knowing it, you're playing the same thing that his ride cymbal's doing, or you're following that. There's like a connection, interconnection, intuition. You know what I'm saying? I mean, there's
I talk sometimes to my other musician friends and people who are interested in music. I feel a lot of the time the closest I come to actually having a back and forth communication with a larger intelligence or a larger spiritual world is when I'm playing guitar, because sometimes I just find that riff or I find that note and I'm like, oh, where the fuck did that come from? Like I shouldn't have not done that. Like, and this song is becoming something like but it's not me. It really isn't. I know how I write songs.
Yeah.
And the songs that are the best are not how I write songs.
And my fingers have never been in that combination before, in that space of time, and I'm writing this wave, this wave of
that wave, right?
Yeah, for real. Yeah, it's a real thing, man. It's for non-musicians, it's hard to communicate that. I had to put my finger on when I really felt like connected as a musician in a lot of ways to an audience. It was like when I was in the Cornhusker marching band, because people are, you got 80,000-90,000 people standing up on their feet, clapping along with you as you're performing. No place like Nebraska, and they're screaming "Go Huskers" in the breaks of the song. So that kind of got me thinking about like this, these concepts that I've been kind of batting around in my head the last year and a half or so, about like connectedness of spirit. Like obviously you five guys have been working together for decades, and you guys are all great friends and like brothers in a way. And so like when you guys get together and you perform either your old stuff or you're working on new stuff, it's almost like you, and I'm just kind of guessing that you have like an intuitive sense of like, well, might go here, or Tim might, start doing this a little bit, or when Peanut starts doing this, you might not even have to think about it. Like you instantly start doing it with your hands or with your feet, or you guys kind of almost like unify, and using your old band name Unity, you guys might like almost unify as like five people in one.
Yeah. That's I mean, that does happen from the experience of just being together and playing so many shows together, really. So yeah, I think some of those things are automatic. And it's, yeah, it's a pretty cool thing. It's again, as a musician, really enjoyable to have that happen. Um, yeah, I guess we don't think about it too much, but yeah, it's definitely in the live setting. That's what's going on, and what else is going on is we're feeding off the crowd a lot, and I'll say, especially as you get older, to get that energy, if you're trying to do some sort of high energy rock performance and you're older, you might be missing a bit of that energy or even motivation. But when you see people that are excited or they're loving hearing you play, then that tends to give you energy. And we feed off that big time. Because if there's you know if they're not enjoying it as much as you'd like, it does affect your energy. And we say it all the time, but yeah, we can't do it without the fans. The entire career and performing the way we do. And I know that sounds cliche, and maybe some of them don't believe that's true, and we're just saying that to be nice, but that's not the case at all. It's absolutely true. And so it's I think some of them know that, so it's kind of a sort of a symbiotic experience, together, that is sort of special at a lot of our shows. So that's an aspect of it too. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and like your the lyrical content that you guys put together, it's always super positive, always about loving your life, always about finding connections and unity across different uh, realms of thought or different ideas. It's always like there's always a commonness, and also like being positive and loving your life. So I think those kinds of things too, like capture people's spirit and capture people's imaginations in ways they might not even truly understand. And then you put a kick-ass beat behind it. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So they're like,
Yeah.
it's inevitable that there would be some kind of connection. And I'm thinking like, telepathic, psychical. I mean, yeah, that's kind of far out there, but in a way, human consciousness and human history, we've always been unified sometimes over like tribal beats
Yeah.
and sounds like that kind of resonate in our core just from where we've evolved from. So you take all that positive messaging, uh great visual show, but like there is you said like the word cliche, but no, I think there really is something to be said about how people open themselves even for a 90-minute show. Like there's something like one big organism, I think Nick says, like jump up and down like one big, living thing. And I think
Yeah.
there's a lot to be said about that, like truly.
Okay, so there's 3 different conversations with 3 different uniquely talented and whip smart individuals looking at the connectedness of people through music, whether they're musicians amongst themselves in an ensemble on stage, or musicians interacting, give and take with the audience. There's connections that are there. And in my brain, paranormal investigation of all kinds, doesn't matter if it's about ghosts or if UFOs or if Bigfoot's your bag, it doesn't matter. Paranormal investigation at its core, paranormal research at its core, all this is looking for connections. Connections that don't seem to be there on surface level, but we know and feel and experience these connections. And I think music is super useful in this endeavor because it helps us fill the gaps between us. It helps fill the gaps emotionally, spiritually. It can fill gaps between across time and space. And what do I mean by that? Like, I can listen to a recording of the Chicago Symphony, or I could listen to a recording of West Side Story, recorded 50 years ago. And I can listen to One Hand, One Heart. And it might trigger something, and it'll trigger an emotional response in me. It'll conjure, it'll manifest meaning and expression in me, emotion. It will change the temperature of my soul, change the temperature of my spirit. Just a few measures in, I know that song's starting, and it can start the floodgates. So across time and space, recorded music, performed music, it has a unique ability, I think, to bridge these gaps that we're looking to bridge when we're looking to connect ourselves either with things of this world or other dimensions or of other worlds. So now we all know, like, paranormal investigations, like 99% of paranormal investigations might be considered a failure. And why is that? Because we're looking for evidence. We're looking for video evidence of this or that. We set up trail cameras to look for Bigfoot. We have EVP recorders to see if there's any spirits coming from beyond the grave. We're looking for evidence. And if we're only looking for tangible scientific evidence, then I think we're just kind of bound to fail. I think a better focus would be looking for an experience. And I got some video here that I want to show you. And it's not the greatest video in the world. It's easily debunked. That's why I don't show it all over YouTube or TikTok or anything like that. It was me doing an investigation of the Rose Theater in Omaha. Now, the Rose Theater in Omaha is a beautiful 100-year-plus old theater that's had many forms of existence over the years. It was a vaudeville stage for a long time. Then it showed silent movies. It showed regular movies, the talkies. And it was also used for a while as a bowling alley by Creighton University. Then a businesswoman and philanthropist, Rose Blumkin, bought the place, pumped a lot of money into there as a community enrichment endeavor, and it's now been named in her honor as the Rose Theater. Anyway, I went to go visit and do a paranormal investigation at the Rose Theater a number of years ago. And I met with the staff, and they were telling me, like, doors open and close, all these things happen, apparitions are seen. And so they gave me full reign of this beautiful structure to go look for paranormal phenomena. And I took a Bluetooth speaker with me, since I knew it was a theater. And theaters are great conduits of energy, I think, between the staff, between the audience and also the actors and the musicians. There's so much emotion that's there on stage. The actors giving it their all, and then also people in the audience receiving all that energy and showing their appreciation through applause and adulation, emotions of sadness or melancholy. All these things are trapped into a building or compounded in a building through many performances over decades and decades. So I love going to theaters and live music venues and places like that to do investigations, because I think the residual energy, or the potential for residual energy, is off the charts, right? So I take my Bluetooth speaker into this place, and I'm all over the building, but I spent a lot of time in this one particular dressing room that was used by a lot of people, but it's named in honor of a woman that was a volunteer there, a teacher. She was a tour guide. She was a volunteer who succumbed to cancer. And so they memorialized this dressing room in her honor. And so they're like, this door opens and closes all the time, and it freaks people out. And so naturally, that's a place where I wanted to hang out. So I set up my camera and my cell phone on this counter, and within a couple minutes of being in this room, the door shuts on me, right? So I'm like, well, that's crazy. Let's try it again. So it has one of those door stops on the bottom of it, and it's just an old-fashioned heavy door. No mechanical locks, no like magnetic locks, nothing like that. It's not hooked up to any kind of timer or anything like that. It's just an old school door, right? So I'm sitting in this room. I push the lever down and I'm really pulling on the door, and I'm in there for about 20 minutes. Paranormal investigation can be very boring. So I'm sitting in this room for like 20 minutes, and lo and behold, the door flips up, and the door shuts. Now, I'm going to show you a clip of that. It's not great evidence because people could say, well, there was somebody behind the door, or you can't see the whole room. It's not the greatest camera angle. Yeah, I know, but I was there by myself, right? So you do what you got to do. You do what you can do. So I'm hanging out in this room. The door shuts after I play a particular piece of music on my Bluetooth speaker, and I'm just kind of sitting there waiting and listening to the quiet and listening to see what's going on. And I have what I guess you would call an experience. Get the out is what I'm going to do. Ooh, man, that's weird. I want to run out of here. I have caught that now on 2 cameras and a recorder. I pulled on that door. Let's see, open it up. Okay, so that was crazy for me. Probably not crazy for you watching it online. But my hair on my arms totally jumped up. And the room felt charged. I don't know if it was electrical or, you know what I mean? It was just like a weird vibe buzz in the room after something like that happened. And it could have been just because of the chemical structure of my bloodstream was altered significantly after that event. Because, like I said, most paranormal investigations are pretty boring. So that was a lot of fun looking back on that to see how much it kind of freaked me out a little bit. So to recap a little bit, I played a little bit of music through a Bluetooth speaker in an attempt to make a connection. I was playing all kinds of music that day. I was playing show tunes from musicals. I was playing some jazz. I was playing a little bit of classical. I played some movie themes through my Bluetooth speakers. I was moving through the building. And I think it's important that you kind of know your audience. So these are some tips here for incorporating music into a paranormal investigation. By the way, music isn't meant to substitute or remove things that you're comfortable with using that work for you in a paranormal investigation. Maybe think of it as just ways to enhance it. A little bit of sprinkles on top of the icing of your paranormal investigation. Anyway, here's a tip. Know your audience. If you're going into a grand concert hall, I wouldn't be playing a bunch of speed thrash metal through your Bluetooth speaker. It might drive people away. It might drive spirits away. It might drive those that are interested in making a connection with you from the other side, kind of be like, I don't know about that. Go out of your wheelhouse a little bit. If you're not so much of a jazz listener, try working on incorporating some jazz into your paranormal investigation. The reason I say that is because, like, jazz especially has a unique background, or it has a unique construction of people intuitively connecting and communicating with each other. I talked to jazz musician Andrew Vogt, who you'll see in a minute, about this. You might be working with a brand new drummer or a bass player sitting in with a group, but it's almost like when you guys are into a intuitive sense of improvisation, taking a standard tune and then making it your own in a way that hasn't been performed before. You're communicating telepathically, intuitively, psychically. You don't know exactly what the drummer's doing. Maybe you're picking up on the ride cymbal a little bit, and then all of a sudden you're going into this another chorus, unspoken. So incorporate some jazz into your musical paranormal investigation. If you're down south, play some Southern music. If you're in the Midwest, play some music that might be common to the area of the Midwest. If you're investigating a place of people that were very religious, try some hymns. Even if you don't enjoy hymns, the people you're connecting with, that you're trying to bridge this gap with, they might enjoy it. I was investigating the Villisca Axe murder house, and I know that the people who were murdered in that house back in 1912, they returned to the house that evening from a church service. So I kind of whistle and hum some hymns. Maybe they find it soothing or comfortable to them. Maybe they just find it recognizable. They've heard that hymn before. Maybe that would help spur some kind of connection and then spur some communication. If you're into tarot or dowsing rods or EVP recorders or spirit boards, or if you're into like runes, anything like that, try using a little bit of music before you do those avenues of exploration. Maybe before you do a tarot card pull, you play a little John Coltrane. Maybe play a little Mozart, a little Beethoven, to kind of charge the atmosphere. Put you guys on you in the spirit world on an even playing surface. Maybe playing some show tunes would be beneficial before doing an EVP session. Maybe they'll fill in the lyrics. Who knows? You're looking for ways to bridge a gap, to make connections. And so if it's a piece of music that you're either familiar with or unfamiliar with, your audience, for lack of a better word, might find a way to enjoy that and connect with you, either through appreciation, maybe, or maybe they'll let you know that they didn't really enjoy it. My friend Andrew Vogt, who you'll meet in a minute, tells a story in his haunted house about a stack of CDs being knocked over by a spirit that he had seen weeks before. The spirit of the woman, he thinks, knocked over his stack of CDs, which just let me down the road of thinking, like, well, maybe she didn't like bebop that day. Maybe she was tired of listening to Art Pepper. So know your audience and let it breathe. Play a piece of music and let it resonate inside the building, inside the structure. Play a piece of music and let it resonate. Let it carry out through the night when you're looking for UFOs or in the forest. Give the Sasquatch a little bit of time to hear the music, be curious about it, and come find you to see if there's anything else. There's that scene inside of Sasquatch Sunset where they find the boom box and play it. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen to you, but I think the natural curiosity of either spirits or Sasquatch or other cryptids or fairies, anything like that you're looking for, might be attracted to whatever kind of music you're playing. So let it breathe. So take your Bluetooth speaker, know your audience, play appropriate music, but don't be afraid to challenge yourself in the spirit world to see if there's something that works. Maybe they really want to hear some the new Kendrick Lamar. They haven't heard. Maybe they've heard Hamilton for the first time and they're into hip hop now. These century-old spirits. So give the spirits a chance to listen and make their own decisions about the music, and maybe ask them what they think about it during an EVP session. You never know. The results might be surprising. So now here's a paranormal investigation on a large scale. I host a large event, a live event at the Benson Theater in Omaha every year. It's called Historic Haunted Heartland. And this last year, 2023, I had on stage my friend Andrew Vogt, jazz musician from the Denver area. I had psychic medium Cindy Kaza. You know her from like Holzer Files and many Shock Doc things and the Dead Files, and from her live events around the country. And then John Tenney, who you just saw a little bit ago, giving one of his signature weird lectures. So our experiment for last year's live event was for Andrew and I to perform on stage musically, but also use the 172 members of the audience as a choir singing to us reacting to their singing, a very simple melody, in an attempt to kind of unlock the cosmic tumblers, put us all psychically, telepathically on the same page, and use it as a mechanism to welcome spirits to come forward if they're curious, if they like what they hear, to come and communicate with us. And I don't know the effect of it per se. I do know that we did this experiment and then welcomed Cindy Kaza up on stage, who did a gallery reading for the 172 folks that were there that night at the sold out Benson Theater. But I have to think that the way that Cindy was hitting on things, and not vague things, like very specific circumstances with people in the audience, the way that she was connecting, I hope it was because, or enhanced by, this musical, psychical experiment of interaction between Andrew and myself on stage and the 172 members of the audience, acting as one living organism, as a choir, singing back. And we were singing syllables, not words, because we wanted intent. We wanted the purity of the intent to go back and forth between us on stage and them in the audience. So here's a little bit of a psychical musical experiment on a large scale that maybe you might be tempted to replicate yourself in your town for an event. It might be a lot of fun. You've heard of the Estes method. I like to call this the Benson method. 1, 2, on, off, and louder. Very good. Feel free to sing out. What we're going to do now, we're going to begin the invitation incantation. So I need you all to kind of clear your thoughts, leave everything that in the rest of your life behind. You're here now. This can never be duplicated again, because each and every one of you is important to this. If one of you was gone, it would be totally different. You're very important to this. We're all one energy. This is our shared paranormal experience together. So take a minute, a moment, deep breath, and we will begin. 1, 2, 3, and... I think the cosmic pillars have kind of clicked into place. And I think we can go on with the rest of the experiment. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Andrew Vogt. All right, what'd you think of that? The Benson method. Jazz musician Andrew Vogt and myself playing music on stage. The audience kind of responding to that back and forth, the changing of the color before we had Cindy Kaza come out and give just an outstanding gallery reading, a remarkable gallery reading. I'd love to show that on YouTube, the stuff she hit on, but that's that, and also Mr. Tenney's lecture that night. That's their intellectual property. So sometimes you just gotta be there, right? So I'm gonna kind of sum up a little bit here. All methods of paranormal investigation and research and these tools that we use, all of them I think are valid. I don't want to say that anybody's personal connection or personal beliefs or anybody's personal experiences aren't real. I don't want to say that. So I want you to continue using, like I said, your tarot cards, your dowsing rods, your spirit boards, your EVP recorders, your cat balls, your blinking lights, your runes. I want everybody to continue doing the things that brings them comfort and joy and make sense to them. I would like to encourage you to try to incorporate some kind of music in your paranormal investigation, whether it's UFOs or Bigfoot or ghosts, doesn't matter. If you're trying to connect to something outside of yourself, outside of our known universe, I guess you could say, or our known realm, if you're trying to make a connection, I think that bridging the gap with music can certainly be an enlightening experience for you. it certainly has opened a lot of avenues of exploration for myself and a lot of avenues of thought. I've gone down a lot of rabbit holes. And I'm not the first one to kind of come up with any of these things by any means. This stuff's been kind of studied and talked about and theorized for a long time. I just want to kind of help popularize it and kind of encourage it a lot more, because it's like, I don't know, it's like automatic writing, you know. It's channeling yourself through your senses, through something that maybe you don't even have to really concentrate on, and it's all about having that experience once again. So I'm going to leave you with this story too. I had the opportunity over the summer to give a series of lectures for the Omaha Public Library, and I was talking mostly to teens and young adults. And I was talking one afternoon at a library about historic haunted heartland stuff, all the ghost stories of Omaha and paranormal experiences that people have had in the area for years and years and years and years and years. So I was kind of sharing these stories. And afterwards, a young woman who was working at the library for the summer came up to me, and she attended my talk, my lecture. And she's like, "That was really cool. I don't know if I necessarily believe in ghosts, but something weird happened to me. Can I tell you my story?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, for sure. I want to hear it." So this young lady's name was Vicky. And Vicky was telling me that during the spring, so just a few months ago, during the spring, she was walking through campus of the University of Nebraska, Omaha, and it was a beautiful spring day, and something was weighing on her heart. She was very sad, a lot of melancholy that day, because it was her grandmother's birthday, and her grandmother's heavenly birthday. She passed away 5 years before. So Vicky was walking through campus, you know, thinking about her grandma, and she was very close to her grandma. And one of the great memories that she has of her grandma was a pianist, a piano player, a great musician, volunteered at nursing homes and churches, played in community groups. Her grandmother was a really great musician, great piano player. And Vicky used to love sitting by her by the piano bench and listen to her grandma play. Grandma played for birthdays and played at Christmas time. Just a lot of memories associated with the piano music, her grandmother, and the kindness of her grandmother sharing her musical talents with the family and the community, right? So Vicky said one of her grandmother's favorite pieces of music, and one that she always liked hearing her grandma play, was the tune For Elise by Beethoven. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And so this particular day, her grandmother's heavenly birthday, she's walking through the beautiful campus of the University of Nebraska, Omaha. The warm sunshine is shining down upon her. She's heavy in her thoughts of her grandma, heavy heart thinking about her grandma. And she's passing through this little area where the UNO campus has a bell tower, beautiful bell tower that plays this soft kind of bell piano music, and it wafts through the air of campus. It's a lovely thing. And as she's walking past it, like underneath it, through this kind of atrium area, the bell tower starts to play For Elise on her grandmother's birthday, while she's thinking of her grandmother, with all these great memories of her grandmother. Starts playing the song just as she's passing through it. And she stopped and listened, and she immediately feels her grandmother's presence with her as the music's playing. And so she asked me, she's like, "Do you think that was a paranormal experience?" And I said, "I think it's absolutely a paranormal experience. You know, I don't think her grandmother was haunting the bell tower and manipulating the controls and selecting that song to play. But sometimes it just takes you to stop what you're doing, open your ears, and listen to what's going on around you and be ready for that experience." Because I truly believe at that moment of time, on that day, at that hour, at that place on planet Earth, that a telepathic or a psychical paranormal experience did happen. And it happened to Vicky. It was very real to her. And she asked me if I thought it was paranormal. Whatever it was a beautiful experience. Through the gift of music, a connection was made. So, with that, I'd like to thank you for your kind attention. I'd like to thank you for listening to this and contemplating the concepts that I've kind of bandied about here. And if you have any questions or comments, or if you'd like to share some kind of experience that you've had using music, or a paranormal investigation where music was a part of it, or something that's happened to you, some kind of experience that was musical in nature that you just can't put your finger on or explain, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear it. So just contact me through my email, necronomicast@gmail.com. And thank you, Ryan. Good luck to all you other speakers out there. I know you're recording your stuff now. But this has been a great opportunity for me to share my thoughts on the subject. And I'm going to leave you all with this right now. I'm going to play a piece of music for you. I'm going to show a static or an image of a lava lamp, because why not? But I kind of want to get my face off the camera. And I'm going to play a piece of music that's copyright free. It's public domain, and it's me playing it on trumpet from years ago. It's called Genopody No. 1. It's a piano piece that we arranged by Eric Satie. And it's a famous piece of music. But what I want us all to do, if you want, is listen to this piece of music, kind of clear your mind, and see what pops into your head after listening to this talk. See what pops into your mind as I play this piece of music. And it's going to be interesting to me hearing from you your experiences in listening to this piece of music. Now, there's out of tune notes and all this kind of stuff on there. It's not a perfect piece of music, but it's a shared piece of music that's copyright free, YouTube. So nobody's going to get in trouble, and nobody's going to... I give this freely to the community. But I want everybody to listen to it. If anything pops into your head, if anything like that, if something strange happens that you can't put your finger on after listening to this piece of music, I'd like to hear about it, and I'd like to compare notes. And maybe I can get back to all of you once again and talk about if any shared connections happened after listening to this piece of music. So, and by the way, the piano player for this piece of music is my friend Marty, who I told you about in my first story, that lives in South Carolina. So we recorded this years ago. It's called Genopody No. 1 by Eric Satie. I hope you enjoy it. So listen to it. See if anything unusual happens to you after listening to it. And once again, everybody, thank you for your attention, and take care. God bless.